Hi, family. Welcome back to this week's episode of the Gold Corner. This is the Gold Corner. We're a broken family, but we're broken together. For those that don't know me, my name is Joel Ojeda. I'm also known as the Bearded Ref, and I am the creator of this channel, the channel called the Gold Corner. I created this channel in memory of my 2-year-old daughter, Mia, who passed away from neuroblastoma in 2018. And I created it as a platform where us as parents and even other kids and survivors can come and share their story, whether they were already called home, the ones currently fighting, and the ones that have beat it. This is a Gold Corner. Thank you for joining us. Let's do this.
And now it's time for the main event. This is the moment you have all been waiting for. In memory of Mia Ojeda, dedicated to all the brave little warriors that have fought and the ones that are currently fighting childhood cancer. For the thousands watching around the world, fighting out of the Gold Corner, it's time!
This week, we have an amazing guest. I've had the opportunity to follow her organization. As I mentioned prior to the intro, this is a channel that was created for these warriors that have fought it, were called home, the ones currently fighting, and the ones that have beat it. Well, today we have an amazing story. We have Tay Scheibe from Nashville, Tennessee. And Tay is actually a survivor. And I wanted to get her on for the last couple of weeks because I know there's a lot of parents that look forward to success stories, to these stories of children that have made it. So we have joining us today Tay, and Tay's going to be talking to us not only about her story but what she has done since, the amazing organization that she has. And this is she's created this to share hope, to bring hope to all those little kids that are currently fighting right now. So without further ado, Tay, I just wanted to welcome you to the Gold Corner. Thank you so much. I know it's been a couple of weeks since we've been kind of missing each other to get you on here, but thank you for making time and out of your busy, schedule that now I know it's really busy. So Tay, thank you. Welcome to the Gold Corner, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted to first say it's such an honor to be on here. And yeah, we've had back and forth of trying to work through our schedules. But I'm so happy that we can make this work because it is such an honor to be able to share my story with you and also all of your viewers. I just feel super blessed to be here and speak with you guys today. Like you said, my name is Tay. I'm the founder of With Love Charity, a nonprofit that gives children with cancer the opportunity to be kids. And before I founded that, I actually went through the journey myself. At 10 years old, I was diagnosed with large cell lymphoma. And so, not many people have heard of that diagnosis before, but it is very similar to leukemia. It is a blood based cancer. So, it affects your lymphatic system. Obviously, at 10 years old, I had no idea what that was, nor what cancer was. It definitely was not a word that was used a lot growing up. So when they told me that I was going to be sick, I assumed it was a shot and a lollipop and send you on your way, right? But as we all know, cancer is just so much darker than that, and it's not something you would wish on your worst enemy. So, like I said earlier, I am very grateful to be here, and I am very thankful for the support system that I've had since diagnosis to where I am today. And so I would like to go back a little bit to the beginning of time, whenever I did hear those words, you have cancer. I remember being on a field trip and being pulled from the field trip to actually go to the hospital where some lab results and test results came back that did determine that I did have cancer. The diagnosis type was not generated on that day, but it was definitely determined that things were malignant, and I would begin treatment sooner rather than later. Um, the first time, so I battled it twice. I should probably say that. The first time was obviously very, very, very scary because, like I said, the C word was not used a lot. And it was definitely a new environment to put myself in, along with my family and friends. And this was, gosh, oh, almost 20 years ago. So, it really wasn't a common thing back then. And, people say a lot today about having to wear masks and be isolated. And I can not tell you how crazy weird it was 20 years ago to have to walk around like that, because your immune system is so weak. But I did start chemo pretty quickly once it was determined my diagnosis type, and I was quickly removed from all normalcy as a child. So, no dance classes, no school, no friends, put on a strict diet, limited visitors, limited contact. Very much a bubble boy, I like to say. Um, and also because it was just so out there and weird, a lot of people that you thought were your friends or your loved ones kind of distanced themselves as well, because they didn't know. Some people treated you like you were contagious. Some people treated you like you were an alien. So being, 10 years old and having people that you called your best friend not want to come see you or not send you get well cards or stare at you different when they saw you, it really hurt. And I think I was at that age, where you're really cognizant of what's going on. Maybe you don't understand why, but you can see what's going on around you, and it really affects your mental state. It really affects how you view yourself too. So now I'm weird, and nobody wants to be my friend because I'm going through this. And um and then watching my family, even if they didn't realize I saw what they were going through, I felt like it was my fault, right? So watching my family be upset all the time, watching them be pulled apart and then back together again, pulled apart and back together again, because just the chaos that cancer brings to your family financially, emotionally. Now you're a mom working a full time job, trying to make ends meet. And then on your lunch break, you have to come over to the hospital to check on your daughter. It's just people don't realize that it's not just you facing it, it's your whole family, it's your entire world that is alongside on this ride. And like I said, I think being 10 and seeing that happen, it if we want to get real deep, like it put me in depression really fast, even if I didn't know what depression was. Because I just felt like I caused everyone to be sad all the time, or I caused, um, dismay and discomfort and pushed people away. And even though you are surrounded, you feel like totally alone in this battle. And that's just a lot to have a child go through at any age, but especially whenever you're aware of it, right? Um, so the first time I went through it, definitely traumatic. I grew up dancing and I couldn't go to dance, and that was my life. And I was at the point where I was going into fifth grade or just in fifth grade, and I was a safety patrol, and I just had all these things that I loved and enjoyed, going outside, playing in the sprinklers. Just got two new cats, and I was like, couldn't even see them. And so your whole world is just absolutely flipped upside down. And then you go into being a girl with long hair, and that's completely removed. So your whole identity, I mean, I hate to say that, but at that age, your identity is in your hair, is in your looks. You're becoming a young girl, and so to be bald and then have everything else happening, it's just, um, it's just heartbreaking. Um, and now it's taken a lot of growth and a lot of therapy and a lot of just sitting down with myself to not see that that was my identity. But try not to cry. But it was definitely hard. It was definitely dark. Um, Fast forward through treatments and, going into remission for the first time, and feeling like, wow, okay, maybe things will start getting normal again. My hair is starting to grow back in. Slowly but surely, I can go back to dance class. I can go back to school, even if it's limited visitation. Starting to feel like, okay, I'm not just a girl with cancer. Um, I'm still Taylor. So finding her again, and wanting to be a part of society and wanting to be a normal kid. Um, and then a few months later, finding another spot, and immediately being put back into treatments, and this time radiation, and then a bone marrow transplant. And gosh, I thought I was stronger because I was like, wow, I conquered this one time. I can definitely do it again. Um, but to have to go through a bone marrow transplant was just like something from a movie. Um, and so I just lost an earring. And so, sorry. Um, you know, just being thrown into I think it was like a 10 by 10 room, maybe, if that. And, you know, only having one person come in at a time, and they're all in this crazy yellow jumpsuit, mask. You can't bring any kind of fabric in unless it's been washed by the hospital. You can't bring in balloons or candy or flowers. Um, you almost feel like this crazy science fair project, and you're being probed and prodded at, and you just fall back into that dark place, even though you had so much courage and strength going into it because you saw everything that you had overcome the first time. You're immediately shut down again, and it takes you a lot to pull any kind of ounce of courage out of yourself. Um, and then again, watching your family fall apart, because this time now it's, this is our only option. If she doesn't make it through this, then, and even though they never said that to me, I knew deep down, like, this is it, Tay. Like, if you don't get through this, like, how are you going to leave your family? And so by that time I was 11, and, I'm a little bit older, a little bit wiser. And I see the devastation, and I see, once again, friends being removed, family kind of distancing themselves. And I think, wow, this is all my fault. Like, why couldn't I have just really beaten cancer? Why couldn't I have just overcome this? And how come I have to put them all through this again? And you just carry this weight as an 11-year-old that, you don't see how profound it is until you get older. There's so many things to suppress post cancer because you just don't want to face it. But let me tell you, you have to face it, because if not, it will eat at you. But we'll get into that later. I have to take this earring off though, because I do feel lopsided. Sorry, that's just me, and I'm random. But yeah, so I can't even really tell you what it is that pushed me through. I just knew, the first time I went through it, I was so angry at God. I was so mad at him. I was like, no God would put me through this. Nobody who is that high up and all loving would ever take me through something like this, or my family through something like this. And the second time, it was just like, I have a purpose. I have a purpose, right? So I held on to that. I held on to that at 11. I have a purpose. If I get through this, if I get through this, God, I promise you I'll share my story. God, I promise you I'll be proud. And I will tell everyone how you got me through this. Just please, just please. You know, but I was also a lot more quiet about it. Not as much complaining, not as much I feel sick or I don't want to do this, just go through the motions. I was then what my mom and my dad were for me, which was, Mom, everything's going to be okay. Dad, everything's going to be okay. And I just had to be. So I remember it was Halloween and I was in my bone marrow transplant and I was determined. I was like, we are going to make the best of this situation. We're going to put up lights and we're going to have this huge cauldron of, treats for doctors and nurses who visit to pick from. I was absolutely determined to make the best out of it. And I think that that's where I got my sense of humor from was, finding happiness out of something so dark. I know that sounds crazy, but, just really, really trying to find the good in everything. And that's something it takes people years to learn. And I learned it at 11, and I am so grateful for that. But just powering through Halloween and powering through that bone marrow transplant and having minimum visiting with people I love the most, but just knowing like, if I got through this, God, if I got through this, I'm gonna never not hug my me mom, gonna never not, tell my mom I love her. And I'm not gonna fight my dad about anything anymore, like I promise, and they came in and it was right before my birthday. And they were like, there are no signs of cancer. And of course I had to stay a little bit longer just to make sure my body would adapt back to like normal diet and everything. But I just remember feeling this huge weight lift and just feeling like, okay, if this ever does come back, if this ever happens again, I will not be scared. I promise I will not be scared. But I think that me having that mindset made me take away all of the promises that I gave God, which was being proud and sharing my story, because I was so scared that it was going to happen again. Because if it came back a second time, it could come back a third time, it could come back a fourth time. I didn't take my therapy sessions seriously. I was 11. And I started to almost shut down. I didn't seek Tay anymore. I felt like I only was that girl who had cancer. And so everything that all my driving force through surviving, I really kind of just shut down and suppressed. And I realize that now as I get older, like this is common for a lot of survivors, young survivors, who don't get the necessary treatment or don't really face the brutality of what they went through, right? Because we're so eager to just be normal. We're so eager to just go about our lives and act like nothing happened, because when you're put in the limelight for something so scary and so dark, you almost feel like bad, you almost feel like, oh, all they have is like sympathy for me. And you want to stop telling people that you overcame this, because you don't see it as a success. You see it as a sob story. And my mom was just so proud, and my mom cut her hair off really short. And so she'd always want to be like, "Can I tell them why I cut my hair?" And I would be so mad because I was like, "Do not tell them I had cancer," because then it would go on and lead into, everything. And I just hated it. I hated it. I hated the attention. And it got to be where I was bitter, very bitter about what I went through, not proud, not happy, not grateful for what I had overcome, but bitter. I didn't want anyone to know that part of my life. And unfortunately, that's the reality for a lot of survivors. I think at any point in their diagnosis or their journey, like, you almost start to become bitter because, like I said earlier, people say, "Oh, I'm so sorry," or they like to say, "Oh, my uncle so and so, he had cancer and he was fine," you know, and you just are like, "Gosh, like, I don't care," I hate to say that, but it's true. You're just like, okay. Um, and now as I get older, I realize it's because some people don't have that empathy and they don't have that connection to you, but they want to. They just maybe can't verbalize it in a way that, is respectful or considerate to what you have been through, the extent of what you have been through. And so now I have a lot more peace with that. But, being younger, I was just like, "Ugh, if I hear that one more time, I don't want you to feel sorry for me." Um, and so I really, really didn't open up about my cancer until I was in high school, I think. And even then, I was still kind of a little bitter about it. Um, but it took me doing what we call like a senior high pageant. Basically, a group of girls, like A, B class, participate in this little pageant to become, Miss So and So high school. And I did that. And I remember being like, "You know what? I think I want to share my story. I think I want to do it." And we had to write an essay, and then eventually it would be our speech. And I just remember sitting there thinking, wow, okay, if I share this, a lot of people are going to be like, "Tay, oh my gosh, I can't believe you went through that," or "I'm so sorry." You're going to have to face them. But how can you face them in a way that you're humble and that you're grateful? And I sat there writing this speech, this essay out, and I remember it being just very like, "Hi, I'm Tay, and at 10 years old, I was da da da," very robotic and very just kind of like watching paint dry, And I was just like, "You know what? I can't. I don't think I can do this. I don't think I can do this." And, I had my mom sit down with me, and she was like, "The whole reason you're doing this pageant is to share who you are. If you want to be this for your high school, you have to be authentically yourself. And a part of who you are and how you've come this far is, that snippet of your life." And I just remember sitting there thinking, I am a survivor. And this is a huge part of who I am. And why am I not proud of that? Why do I not want more people to know this part of me? And if I do share it, why do I have to be so bitter about it? Um, and so it just took a lot of like opening up and remembering those creative moments that I had when I was in the hospital, because I did go to middle school during my bone marrow transplant. I went to an arts middle school, and I couldn't dance um, because, I was in the hospital. So they put me in creative writing, which I was very mad about. Um, but then ended up loving. And now I'm so passionate about writing. Like, it's crazy. It's funny how the things that you're like so headstrong about are actually the most opening and the most healing. And I never realized that at that age, but yes, writing was a great source of therapy. Art was a great source of therapy for me. And I continue to do it today. But bringing that on later into, my teens, um, I just remember like diving down deep and thinking, if I were to talk to Tay back when she was going through this, how would I want to talk about her to her? How would I want to relay her story back to her? And so I just poured my heart into this little essay and speech and decided to do Christina Aguilera's Stronger, um, the song, to be my talent to go along with that that speech. And it just clicked. It just clicked. It was like this power move for Tay, right? And that's really it. That's really all I wanted, was just to release that. And I ended up winning the pageant. I didn't think I was going to. I really did not. And because let me tell you, homegirl could not walk in heels to save her life back then. But I guess I faked it really well. But I was more proud of the fact that I just shared with an audience my story that I couldn't even share with myself. So from that moment on, I felt a little bit more empowered. I felt a little bit more proud. I felt a little bit more like, gosh, now I'm really seeking Tay. I'm really, really looking for her. And I'm really, really going to be more proud of what I've overcome, even if it's just to love each day more. Um, and I was 17 at that time, so with love wasn't even a thought. Um, but it definitely brought me into an a more understanding of the value of life, and that the more I was bitter towards the journey I had gone through, the less fulfilling each day was for me, even though I had almost lost it all. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's just like, when you're that young, you don't really realize the value of your life. You don't really realize the value in a new day. You don't really realize each new morning is a fresh start, is a new chapter, really. People like to say seasons are their chapters. Honestly, every single day is a new chapter for you. And I just started to really try to look at life that way. And I started to try to talk to people more that way. Um, and eventually it became time to, graduate. And I was accepted into Florida State. Um, I should probably say I'm originally from Jacksonville. Never said that in the beginning there, but I was accepted into Florida State, and just this whole thing happened. There was like when everything went down in 2008, 2009. So some things happened with my mom's career, and my mom is also disabled. So I just didn't want to put any more financial burden on her, which you do carry that as a kid too, putting your family through debt and feeling like it's your fault. So I just was like, I'm not going to put any more financial strain on my family, and decided to take a scholarship to a community college. And even though I thought that that was my choice, that was really God's choice, because if I would have went to Florida State, I would probably have not developed with love. So he knew my place and he knew my purpose, even if I didn't see it yet. Um, I went through a few awful dating experiences, um, to really realize like God has more for me. And if I don't continue to follow his path, that, I'm not going to, be the Tay that I'm meant to be. So I started just thinking of ways to give back, because my final scan as a pediatric cancer patient was coming up. And I was like, Mom, I think I want to do a toy drive for Christmas to celebrate. And I was coming up on being 21. Um, and I wanted to do your typical Christmas toy drive, because everybody wants toys at Christmas. So I started rallying some friends around, and a few people that I knew who had businesses to gather toys. And I reached out to the hospital where I was treated and said, "Hey, I want to celebrate being in remission and this being my final scan. Blah, blah, blah. I want to drop these toys off." And they were like, "We're sorry. We get too many toys donated to us at Christmas time." And I remember just being like, "Oh, the audacity." Like, "Do you know who I am?" Just kidding. I didn't say that. But I was so sad. I was like, wow, all of my friends just went through all this trouble to gather these toys. And I had come up with a name for us too. I was like, we're going to do this with love. Because, random fact, my birthmark is a heart, which is where I got the idea for the logo. Whenever I went through my bone marrow transplant, my birthmark completely disappeared. And whenever I went into full remission, about a month out of my bone marrow transplant, it came back. So isn't that, yeah, it's crazy. But so I knew, I was like, a heart has to go into play, and like, we're doing this with kindness, we're doing this with compassion, we're doing this with love. So I already had a name for us, but not like a sense of like, this is going to be a lifelong thing. And so I was like, gosh, I went through all this trouble. And I remember sitting down with my mom, and she was like, "Taylor, were you just sick at Christmas time?" And I was like, "No." She goes, "Well, what's the next holiday?" And I was like, "Well, Christmas Eve or New Year's Eve, Valentine's Day." She was like, "Yeah, why don't you drop them off then?" I was like, "It's perfect. With love, hearts, Valentine's Day. Gosh." So I called him back up and I was like, "Hey, okay, will you take these toys on Valentine's Day?" By then I was like, "We're going to get you guys even more toys, because all those toys that you got for Christmas are going to be gone." So now I was like really on a mission. And so I ended up doing like a fun, like ugly sweater party, getting people to donate more toys. We did a Super Bowl party. And it just became this thing where I was like, wow, okay, this is fun. I can celebrate my life and give back, and this is fun. So the day of the drop off, I was thinking, hey, we're going to unload these guys, take a picture, and we're going to call it quits, right? But child life specialist had another idea for me. They were like, hey, why don't you come up and actually hand them out? No. It's like, hard pass. I'm good. I don't want to go back up there. I don't want to be thrown back into that. I'm in a good spot. I've got my juices flowing. Like, I'm positive and celebrating life. And my mom looked at me again and she was just like, Tay, this is an opportunity for you. And I'm like, okay, mom, but I don't think I can do this. I don't think I'm strong enough. I don't think I can see these kids. I don't think I can smell those hallways. I don't think I can do it. And she held my hand, squeezed it, and she was like, Tay, you need to be what you needed as a kid going through this. You need to be that for them, for these patients. And I just felt like the wind was knocked out of me. And gosh, she's so right. How bad did I want a survivor to walk through those doors, sit down at my bedside and say, hey, you can do this. Your hair is going to grow back. You're going to be beautiful. You're going to find your value. You're going to find your purpose. You're going to have friends again. You're going to get to hug your loved ones. You're going to go to school. You're going to play outside. You're going to be a kid. Right? Instead of someone coming in and saying, how do you feel today on a scale of 1 to 10? You know, I always wanted that. And now it was my opportunity to be that for someone. And I can't believe that I was going to say no, you know? So me and my 4 wagons, I think, 4 or 5 wagons full of toys and a few volunteers decided to take the elevators up to the oncology unit. And we started this one room of a 2-month-old. And I remember the child life specialist bringing us in and saying, hey, we have a visitor today and she's dropping off toys for Valentine's Day. And oh, she's a former patient, now a survivor. And I just remember just seeing the faces of the parents just light up like, okay, wow, and I just felt this responsibility come over me of okay, you're not only just a survivor, but now you're a source of hope. Wow, gosh, okay. I couldn't even be this for myself, but I get to be it for other people. And I just remember being not being able to formulate words, but just how old's your little girl? And picking out a few toys for her and her brother, who wasn't there at the time, but I think he was 3, and passing them on to them, and just their faces still being like, oh my gosh, survivor. And I didn't know it then, but God was so at work in me and so at work in that situation. And I thought it was all me. I went through all that to set up a toy drive, to rally my friends, to get volunteers, to come up with a name. No, it was more than a name, and that day I identified my true purpose as a source of hope. I didn't really know what that looked like yet, but gosh. So then I was after meeting that family, I was so energized and I just felt so completely grateful and honored to be there to pass out toys. Where's the next kid? Then I was just so gung-ho And that anxiety and that fear to face what I had once gone through was now an opportunity to give kids with cancer their opportunities to be kids. And from then on out, I was like, when can we drop off toys to you guys again? When can we host an event for you guys? How can we be more involved? How can I be more involved? Do you guys need me to speak? I'm not that good yet, but I'll try. Um, and it just started to have this propelling, just this jolt of, gosh, I want to be here for more families. I want to be here for more kids. Um, and maybe I didn't see it then, but that healing, everything that I suppressed from when I was a kid through being a teenager, I was starting to get that. I was starting to get that healing. I was starting to get that closure. I was starting to identify who I am as Tay and not who other people label me as or who other people see me as or the expectation of what people thought of me as a survivor. I was finding it for myself. And it took a few years. It took a few years to really kind of set with love and motion the right way. I kind of founded a nonprofit backwards, I guess. I I guess there's really no right way to found a nonprofit, but I didn't do like the whole grant writing or any of that in the beginning. I just kind of put my own money into it and worked multiple jobs, and I never wanted to take away from it, and I still don't take away from it. 9 years in, we're 100% all voluntary, and I just feel so humble and so grateful that I can use With Love as my platform to share my story and to be connected to other families that are going through this. And um, even if I don't always have all the answers, I can be present. And that is just so crucial, even if it's just to listen, even if it's just to acknowledge those kids and those parents and to say, hey, I see you. I've been there, but I'm here with you now. And that's so important. And I'm sorry I ramble a lot, but um, I just think it's vital for us as survivors to identify that not all of our journeys after cancer are going to be the same, but that we need to be respectful of each other's journeys and we need to uplift each other in our journeys after cancer, because cancer doesn't end whenever they say you're in remission. Cancer doesn't end when they say no evidence of disease. You still fight all of these delayed side effects. You still fight the mental battles that you went through at such a young age, or whatever stage in life you went through, but you still battle all those things. And there's never really a closed door on cancer. There's more so of a how to re-identify it and its placement in your life. For me, when I was 10, it was this huge scary monster, right? And at 15, it was cancer what? Who? Hmm? At 18, it was yeah, I had it. At 21, it was, I had it. And now at 30, it's like, I've had it and I want to uplift other people and I want to encourage others. And I just want to love on as many kids as I can. And I'm Tay, and, it, it separates you from a lot of people, and it definitely makes you have a different viewpoint on life than a lot of other people, and you grow up super fast. You do lose your childhood in a sense. But if I went through the rest of my life being bitter about losing those years, I'm just taking more time off of my life than I would, if I was still going through it. And so it's just about finding a new perspective at the end of the day, no matter what your battle, honestly. Um, Waking up every day and saying, I'm going to live today to its fullest. And I'm going to seek those moments of opportunity to share my story in a way that it uplifts or inspires other people. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you telling everyone you meet, hey, I had cancer, but showing them your gratitude for life in your actions and the way you treat them and the way that you value where you are. Also, finding those moments of rest and learning how to disengage because, like, having a nonprofit or constantly putting your emotions out or sharing your story or connecting to people that do bring you back to those hard times, you can burn out really fast. And there was a year where I did that. Um, and you have to take a step back and you have to say, okay, in order to be Tay to the fullest, in order to be Tay for everyone who's going through this, who needs a Tay, you have to rest and you have to gather your thoughts and gather, you know, the reason why you started this nonprofit in the first place or the reason why you continue to share your story. Um, and so if you got anything from my rambling story, it is just to be just so incredibly in love with life that you just radiate that to the people around you. And you're so proud of everything that you've overcome and that you see that all of that pain and all of that hurt that you went through can be utilized as a tool of growth and an inspiration for someone that maybe you don't even realize sees you, but does. And so that's what keeps me going every day. That's just knowing like it's a new day. Here I am. I used to be in a hospital bed, counting the tiles on the ceiling. And here I am sharing my story. And it's just such an honor. And I couldn't thank you enough for giving me this platform to I always like to share my story a little bit different each time because I feel like it opens up a different level of who I am. And um, so thank you for having me. And
Tay, no, I should be the one thanking you. It was I just needed to get you on my show. I have a lot of parents that have been featured throughout season one and now halfway through season two, and even a lot of parents that have not been featured but that reach out to me, and I try to give them, the best advice that I can give. But I just needed to get you on here because exactly of what you just talked about right now is parents are looking and they're hungry to hear success stories and to be able to hear, what my son, my daughter who's going through it right now at 8 9 10 years, 5 year olds, they have a chance. And it's when I speak to them, my daughter passed, so there's only a certain way that I can reach him. But having you here, I know that's going to bring a lot of hope and a lot of inspiration to a lot of these parents and a lot of these kids that actually also watch these episodes here on a weekly basis. And you touched on something as well when you say you got to kind of just rest because it can burn you out. I do, and there's some weeks that I will not do an episode because I just kind of feel overwhelmed, not in a bad way, but just kind of bringing up everything every single week, having to hear these stories. But these are stories that need to be told. These are stories because as you're well aware, the funding for childhood cancer is only at 4%. And we need to make people aware of what this monster is doing to us, to our children. And it's different having, a 1 year old, 4, 3, 4, 5 year old go through it, but you having gone through it at your age, you're aware of what's going on. You're hearing these things to where you might not understand them fully, but you're aware of everything that's going on. And at this point, you are worried. Like you went into depression. You didn't want to put any more burden on your parents. You would see that and you would notice that. So at that point, at that stage in your life, you're already aware of all of this. So Tay, just thank you honestly for being here. For sharing your amazing story. I had heard one of your other interviews that they had done, but just kind of hearing it like this firsthand, it really means a lot. And again, it does give a lot of hope and inspiration to a lot of our viewers. Now, you did touch on your organization with love a little bit. Can you share with our viewers how they can look them up, how they can look you up, where you are on social media, your webpage, and what exactly it is that you do now, and how people can get involved with wanting to help with love?
Yeah, absolutely. So, With Love gives children with cancer the opportunity to be kids. Um, and basically, right now, because of COVID times, we do care packages, which I like to call golden hero boxes, and basically send out tailored boxes filled with kids' favorite toys or items. Everything is curated just for them, no care packages alike. I personally do the shopping and it is so much fun. But these care packages are sent to bring moments of joy and happiness during their battle, during their journey. And a lot of the items that these kids receive end up being the toys that they take with them to their treatment or the toys they take with them to their surgery. It's a comfort, it's a peace, it's an acknowledgement of, hey, I'm still a kid and I can still have fun. And it gives them hope to be that kid again. And so you can read more about what we do and our programs that will reopen once the world reopens at withlovecharity.org. You can also follow us on Instagram at With Love Charity. Facebook is the same, With Love Charity.
Well, there you go. I will be leaving all those links in the description here on the video, so you can reach out to Tay and to her amazing to her amazing team. And I've seen the pictures of what they're doing and what they've done, and it's just an amazing organization. So Tay, before we finish, I usually ask parents these questions, but now I'm honored to have you, like I was mentioning. So I want to ask you, or for you to give advice for children, for these teenagers, or even children again that watch your episode. Give them, what advice would you give them from somebody that went through it and somebody that beat this? What helped you? What advice can you give them? Number one. And number two, what advice would you give to parents that have children that are going through this right now?
I would first like to say, I think, obviously my viewpoint's different because I was in the shoes of the child and I can't speak to how the parents felt. I can only speak to what I witnessed with my parents. And I just want to first say, like, how amazing you guys are. Do not forget, like, how strong you guys are going through this. You are crucial to our survival. You're crucial to us getting to the point of this. So, first and foremost, I had to say that. I didn't say it earlier. But I'll start with the parents. This is a very hard time as it is. And now that we're in an age of social media and constant scrutiny over a little screen, um, I would just say, like, be mindful of how much you project online of your child through this journey, because you have to remember that they're going to grow up and see all of this later. And I'm saying that very carefully because I understand the awareness part of it, and I understand you wanting to share because you're proud of how much courage and strength your child has. But social media, especially with cancer patients and young cancer patients, it is very hard mentally to not attach yourself to that one image or not feel like you are that one image, to not see one comment that might be negative and then feel like that's your label. um, so that's all I would really say in that sense of just kind of maybe think about what you post, maybe try a different angle, um, because I know for me, if I were to grow up in this kind of society and how I already battle certain insecurities from social media. Um, I remember just being a teen, seeing old pictures. Like my mom did not take a lot of photos of me whenever I was sick. And it's for this reason that she says now, and, or that I'm saying now. It's because, yeah, that's a part of your journey. But there's something about taking a photograph of it and then having people comment on it or having people to attach it to you that you never lose. So then it's kind of ingrained in you as your identity. Um, and those are kind of things that you want to keep as memories and not so much as a face of, this is the face of Tay. Um, so I would just kind of, if you do that, maybe keep your child aware of why, be open and honest with them about, hey, I just wanted to raise awareness for this, and this about you. Um, Ask them, even if they're 5 or 6, hey, can I take a photo of you today? Maybe let them get in on the caption for it, or just something, because I really think that social media has a positive and negative
Mhm.
impact, especially on our journey. And I think it is very negative for the self conscious side and the depression side. Um, but other than that, I think being there and being present, playing with them still like they're a kid. I like to include games and stuff in the care packages that I send to so that the family can all participate. Um, and I send the sibling stuff too because nobody fights cancer alone.
Mhm.
Um, but just really, reminding them that they're still a kid. Um, I know it's hard. I remember, gosh, I would go like this, and my mom would be like, "Do you have a headache? Okay, let's take your temperature. Like, do we need to go to the ER?" It's just that, like, it just becomes a kind of a routine thing. But maybe instead, okay, she touched her head, but maybe it's because she has a scratch, or just kind of communicating with them like they're still who they were before diagnosis. I think just having that sense of normalcy, even though it's not really normal, but maybe finding someone who has gone through what they're going through, or is a significant mentor in their life, have frequent visits, frequent FaceTimes, just giving them some sort of stability. And hey, like, now when you get done with all this, we're going to go play ball, or something that gives them this, like, something to look forward to, if that makes sense. And then I would say for kids or teens who are going through this now, this is always the hardest part for me, just because it took so long for me to get here. And everybody's journey is so different. Um, but I would say to find an outlet. Don't sit on your phone all day. Find an outlet, whether it's writing or art, some kind of craft, If you're able to take a walk around, like a lap around the unit, or maybe get outside and get fresh air, find things that bring you life and energy. And for me, it was just being creative and crafty, and making bracelets for the other kids on the unit while I was there, and um, playing cards with the nurses, or getting up and walking around the unit. Um, just I know you're obviously we have those days where we don't want to talk to anybody, we don't want to do anything, but just finding an outlet for yourself, whatever it is, create something, have something to look forward to every day. That really, really helped me get through. I wrote a book, actually, my second time. I wrote a book about fairies. I think it was. It was a composition book, but it was a book. Um, just doing something that still makes you feel like you're a kid, and knowing that there are people like me out there who want to be here for you too. Whether it's I always offer FaceTimes, any kind of like virtual games. I wish things were in person, because I would love to drop these care packages off in person. But yeah, I think the hardest part is for me to kind of tell kids what to do or what to expect next, because everybody has a different battle and overcomes things separately. And but if you can find something that gives you purpose, to hold on to that.
Well, and I think you actually, I mean, you found your purpose and you found your calling. And it just, for me personally, I just want to say thank you for answering God's call, and doing what you're doing now. Again, as I mentioned, I think that's you're a blessing. You've been a big blessing, and I know you're blessing a lot of people, not only with the foundation, not only with what you're doing, but with your own testimony, and having gone through what you did and be able to speak about it now. And it's not an easy journey. It me as a parent, it took me almost a year and a half to even speak about my daughter. But we're answering God's call, and we're answering what God has sent us to do. We what you went through is not in vain, and now you're helping a lot of other people. So, Tay, just wanted to say thank you. And again, it was a great honor to have you here on the Gold Corner. Thank you so much, family. Thank you so much for tuning in this week. If you are currently going through it with your child, or if you're a child or a teenager watching this, Tay is here, and she's here for you all. And I will be posting her links to where you can reach out to her if you want to speak to her. She would be more than happy again to lend an ear and hear you out. So, family, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gold Corner. This is who we are. We're a broken family, but we're broken together. Remember to live each day to its fullest, because tomorrow's not promised. And just hold on a little while longer, because we're almost home. God bless you, and we'll see you next week.